meantime, let me give a brief introduction about the organization. I request 3 more participants also to turn on their video so we can take up a quick group photo and then we can start with the session. So let me give a brief introduction about the organization, ACN Academic Conference Networks. Basically, the organization is an association of group of Institute of Research and Journal Forum. So basically, the organization is a decade-old organization conducting conferences and members meet across the globe, and it's a international organization based out of Dubai. And with respect to the organization statistics, till now more than 3 lakhs papers have been published in this 10 journals of the organizations of Institute of Research and Journals. And also with respect to people association, with more than 5 to 6 lakh people have been associated in the journey of Institute of Research and Journal Forum. And organization has conducted more than 1,000+ conferences across the globe, physical and virtual. And then gradually post-pandemic, majority of the conferences are virtual, but physical conferences are also happening across the globe, right? So with these are the few inputs or few introduction about the organization. Coming back to today's session, we have around 19 papers which is to be presented, right? We will be having maximum of 8 minutes per participant. And in the interest of time, we can take up the questions and answers in the chat box rather than wasting the time by each participants discussing and elongating the questions or the discussion further, right? For that, you can use your chat box. Participants can share their email address or LinkedIn profiles in the chat box so that professional network, you can connect together and then collaborate and work together and increase your research and collaborations also. So with these few words, I thank Institute of Research and Journal Forum for giving me the opportunity, and also the ACN team for giving me today's opportunity. Let me go ahead and take up a quick group photo, followed by we will be starting with today's first participant. 2 more participants had to turn on their video, Shubham Singh and Reda. Reda, please turn on the video. So we will be taking a group photo. Reda, MAHI.
Yes, hello everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I
Sorry,
understand.
but
Yeah, let me not
sorry.
take too much of time of yours. After the group photo, you can turn off your video. I
Uh,
understand you're
ye-
traveling.
yes, it's 5:41 minutes in
Yes.
but because I live in Quebec City in Canada.
Okay.
That's
I
the
understand.
hours. Yes.
Yeah, let me take a quick group photo, a minute, and then you can turn off. Yeah, you're free to turn off your video. Let me uh, quickly take a video. Group photo. Yeah,
Yes.
let me have all the smiling faces out there of all the participants. Thank you.
Yes.
We have to send you our photo.
No. I have taken a group photo out.
Oh, okay.
The screenshot of today's session. That's it. Thank you. Yeah. Well done. Thank you for turning on your video. We will now go ahead with today's session. Right. Yeah.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aditya Shirsekar. I am here to present my paper, which is titled as Design and Analysis of Advanced Encryption Standard Modes Based Encryption for Protecting Images, PDF, and Text Data. So, moving on, this will be the outline for today's presentation. We'll go with the flow of introduction, scope, literature survey, research objective, methodology, implementation, comparative and performance analysis, and with the conclusion. Okay. So I'll start with the introduction. In day-to-day life, we often see like there are many cybersecurity breaches and threats occurring on the regular basis. So all the users always crave to protect their data to get the uh, images or their personal data secured. So here comes the role of AES. AES, which stands for Advanced Encryption Standard Algorithm, which is vastly trusted, and it is very fast as compared to other encryption algorithms such as RSA and DES. So while while we observe a research gap in here, AES is majorly used for text encryption, and it is very much underexplored for image and other data types for encryption and decryption. So challenges that are oftenly occurred during this encryption is like when you try to encrypt data in high volume, it causes accuracy or data loss. So these are the challenges that majorly occur in while using AES. So objective of this paper is to implement text, images, and PDF data simultaneously with the AES algorithm, and along with that to maintain the accuracy of the output too. So that's the objective of this paper. So the outcome will be obviously the data types that will be used along with the modes of AES that will be that I'll explain later on, the modes of AES. So going on with the scope, yeah, as we see, there are types of mode in AES, which are ECB, CBC, CTR, GCM, and OFB. ECB stands for Electric Circuit Book. CBC stands for Cipher Block Chaining. CTR is counter mode. GCM is Galois counter mode, and OFB is Output Feedback Loop. So these are the mode used for text, PDF, and image encryption. So next point will be the optimization of image and PDF. Like for text, it is not necessary, but for the image and PDF, the size of the data and the pixel of the data should not lose when we'll get the output of the data. So maintaining that should be there. And obviously, while implementing bulk images, the efficiency of the data while encrypting and decrypting should be maintained. So after the implementation, we'll be getting the log. So obviously, the performance analysis can be done on the basis of that log. Hello.
Yes, continue.
Okay, should I continue, right?
I think some voice, background noise, just turn off.
Okay, fine. So
Yeah,
moving on to the literature survey. Yeah, moving on to the literature survey, I have divided into three parts like AES, RSA, and DES. These are the major encryption algorithms used globally. So in the first section, there are 7 papers referred for the AES part, and these papers are majorly focused on text encryption, text encryption and decryption technique, and image encryption is not that much in use till now, but along with the different types of mode that we see, that is not still yet what I can say it is used. So that all things are mentioned in this paper, and along with the RSA part, while going to the next section, RSA, which is called Reverse-Shamir Edelman algorithm. So difference between AES and RSA is AES is a symmetric algorithm and RSA is a asymmetric algorithm. So symmetric, what does symmetric mean? So AES uses same key for encryption and decryption, while RSA uses private key and public key for encryption and decryption. So using the XOR function like exclusive OR, it is called exclusive OR operations. So using that functions, RSA implementation is done. So going to the third section, while this paper focus on DES and RSA, DES is data encryption standard, which is the older version of AES. So it uses 56-bit of encryption key, and AES is compatible with 128, 192, and 256-bit of key. So these were the literature survey which was done in this. So moving on to the research objective, we will be implementing the AES modes, and with this different types of mode will be encryption and different types of data formats. So to develop this, we need to secure an encryption framework. So that framework will be handling the images and PDF data along with the text encryption. For images and PDF data, functions like Mulder and Sharp is used to get the data into the application. And for that, the backend part, we need to see the error handling part and the accuracy part. So for that, the comprehensive system architecture is built to get the log and all the information related to encryption and decryption. So after that, while after the implementation part is done, we'll be seeing the test result of the implementation part. Like it will be give you the log in the terminal, like which mode is used or which key is used, and what how much accuracy does the encryption and decryption has been done in, and what data loss is done. So these all things can be done. We will be getting in the testing part. So moving on to the methodology, on the left side, if you can see, this is the model for AES, which standard AES, in which it generates the round key and add the round key. Like this is basically a one cipher block is there, and in one cipher block, along with that, one IV initialization vector key is used for encryption on and decryption of the key. So I'll just give a simple example, like when you encrypt a file, let's say an image file, and you have to add a single key. Along with that, you have to add a IV. So two keys are required to encrypt a file, and that same two keys are required to decrypt the file. So this is the standard AES method to encrypt and decrypt the file. But in my model, I have included, I have simplified that part, like in a way that IV is directly integrated to the image file while encrypting, so that you have to just implement with a single key, and that single key is used for decryption part too. So in the next step, I have given the flow of the process. Like you have to just add the file. If you can see here, you have to add the file, then select the mode, then the encryption is happened. After that, you have to upload that encrypted file here, and again the mode which the encrypted file is done, the encryption process is done, you have to select that mode, and after that you will get the decryption output when you put the key, same key which is used for the encryption part. So this goes same for the image, text, and PDF files. So moving on, this is the implementation. I have created the application. So this is the interface that looks for the file images and PDF. You can add bulk images and bulk PDF, like you can say 100 to 200 files at a time, and it will encrypt it for you with the different modes and key that you have entered. So this is the same process for text. So you enter the text here, you select the mode, and then you will get the encryption cipher, and then you put the cipher there and put the text, put the key and mode, and you get the decryption of the output. So yeah, so here you can see this is the process of text encryption. This is the process for image and PDF encryption and decryption. The whole process you can see encrypted, the original file, the encrypted file, and the output file. So this is the example for bulk images. I have added 5 files at a time, and this is the encrypted output, and this is the decrypted output. So here is the log. When you implement anything, you will be getting the log. This is the log for encryption, and this is the log for decryption. So you will be getting to see the mode, which mode is selected, the key, file size, buffer size. Yeah, buffer size is the thing when a file is processed, at the same time to read, write, and how much time it is taking, the size is counted according to that. That is called buffer size, and also the accuracy and the loss. If there is a loss in the image, it is shown the accuracy is 100% and the data is 0% loss. Okay, so going on to the comparative analysis, I have measured in a way like different modes are used, and the images file has been taken for this data, and the encryption and time and decryption time by modes has been done. So we can observe that CBC and CTR modes are the fastest encryption and decryption time for images, and GCM mode takes the longest time because GCM mode has a authentication layer in it already built in, like it adds the GCM tag for the encryption. So that's why it takes longer time for decryption to remove that ECM tag from that encryption part. So this is the part where we can see the buffer size versus the resolution size. As the resolution size increases, the buffer size also increases. So we can observe this in this graph. And same goes for the image and PDF buffer size. Like while comparing the size of the images and the size of the PDF, the buffer size increases as the size of the data is increased. File is increased. And the same goes for the decryption and encryption time for PDF as compared to the earlier image section. And this is the graph for encryption and decryption buffer size. So you can observe here file 1 to 5 is an image file. So the buffer size is lower as compared to the buffer size in the next 5 files, like from file 6 to 10. So that is the file which is used as PDF file. So for PDF file, the buffer size is increased. So in conclusion, I have implemented the different modes, and you get to for local users can easily access and do in a simplified way the process of encryption and decryption as per their need. And we can see the GCM and CTR are highly effective for parallel processing data and integrity. And also the data is stored separately in locally. We can also get that data saved in cloud for dynamically handling the files online. So yeah, this is the references that I took that was also mentioned in the literature survey. Okay, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Khaled Altararwah, and today I will be presenting my project, which is about just a second. Okay, yeah, which is about designing and implementing of a low-cost IoT-based data logger for solar and wind energy monitoring. This project addresses the need of efficient, real-time, and cost-effective monitoring system for renewable energy, practically in off-grid and virtual environment. The goal of this project was to create a multifunction data logger using the ESP32 microcontroller and IoT tools. The system measures the key parameters such as voltage, current, temperature, and solar radiations, recording these both data locally and in the cloud. It enables users to monitoring energy system remotely in real time using friendly dashboard testing showed high accuracy with an error margin of only 1.57% to 3.78%. As we know, renewable energy is growing rapidly, but monitoring systems are often expensive or hard to deploy remotely in remote area. These projects aim to solve that problem by offering a low-cost, scalable, and real-time data logger for both for photovoltaic and wind energy system. By using the ESP32 Firebase and Node-RED, we can offer a powerful but affordable solution. Let me explain how the system work. We use the ESP32 as the core microcontrollers. It connects the sensors that measure the current voltage and temperature, as I said. Data stored on SD card. Also, it's sent to a Firebase remotely. We can access the Firebase on the Node-RED. It's used the Node-RED is it's used to create a visual dashboard where user can monitor the data in real time. We also use a Wiki simulation to test the system before developing the hardware. It's helped us to make the system more easier. Like we test it before we build the hardware, so we can see the simulation through the wiki. The result, the system successfully monitored both PV and wind energy power. Voltage, current, and temperature were measured with a good accuracy. Data was synchronized in real time with the cloud and visualized on a dashboard. The combination of a dual storage, local and the cloud, ensure that no data is lost, even if network access failed. To summarize, this system offer a low cost, efficient and scalable ways to monitoring renewable energy system. It's ideally for a small scale, remote or developing areas where traditionally systems are not practically. In the future, I plan to enhance it with a mobile alert, predictive maintenance using AI, and support for a hybrid energy system. And thank you everyone for your attention.
Yes, is it visible to everyone? Okay. So, good afternoon. This is Shilpa Jadhav. I am PhD scholar from Banasthali University, Rajasthan. I am doing my PhD under guidance of Dr. Rituja Sharma. The present paper that I am presenting here is prepared under her guidance. So, a legal analysis of reproductive justice, consent, and law in India for surgical birth. Abstract is this study delves into the delicate interplay among reproductive justice, informed consent, and legal responsibility in surgical deliveries in India. It seeks to evaluate further on whether or not India's legal regime. Excuse me. I'll just zoom it because I find it quite small. It seeks to evaluate whether or not India's legal regime is sufficient to protect women's productive autonomy, especially in the case of cesarean sections. The study employs a qualitative, descriptive, explanatory approach relying on secondary materials, legislation, and case laws. Evidence points to huge disparities between constitutional guarantees like bodily autonomy and equality and their application in the medical facilities. Women are often subjected to coercion, uninformed consent, and institutionalized discrimination during surgical delivery. Physicians and other health providers routinely disregard ethical norms, and legal institutions do not have enforceable mechanism to safeguard women's rights. Even though there has been progressive judicial interpretation, structural reforms have remained constrained. The study concludes that the gap between medical practice and legal ideals can be bridged through focused policy changes, gender-sensitive medical education, and greater awareness of reproductive rights. Reproductive justice can be achieved through a multi-layered strategy involving medicine, law, and public education. Keywords here are reproductive justice, informed consent, cesarean delivery, legal framework, women's autonomy. Introduction. Reproductive justice emphasizes the complex and often fragile interplay among legislation, social movements, and academic study. Legal academics operating at the intersection of academia and social movements have provided essential notions that the nascent reproductive justice movement has used in its endeavor to enhance reproductive rights. Reproductive justice has rapidly transitioned from the streets to scholarly and public debate. Consequently, it considers this an opportunate moment to evaluate how reproductive justice overlaps with many fields of study and its ramification for academic research. The legal framework supporting an individual's right to privacy, which underpins access to abortion and contraception, failed to address the obstacles encountered by many women of color and low-income women due to their structure and political circumstances. Despite these foundations, RJ, that is reproductive justice, significance extends beyond disadvantaged communities, since the analysis of reproductive disciplining faced by some group also underscores the reproductive privileging afforded to others. RJ concurrently advocates for a negative right to freedom from excessive governmental institution and a positive right for governmental intervention in establishing circumstances conducive to social justice and human flourishing for everyone. In examining the history of restorative justice, analyzing pertinent literature and complementing its future prospects, it provides many arguments. The notion of RJ signifies an intellectual advancement, since its multifaceted study uncovers aspects of legal and social policy that, with the few exceptions, have been previously obscured by reproductive rights and health study and activism. By exposing this concealed aspect, RJ emphasizes the uneven power dynamics, especially as they are perpetually generated by states. RJ is distinguished as a valuable study because to this emphasis on examining a spectrum of policy and practice within an unrelated framework. The system governs individuals' productive aspects based on evaluations of worthiness derived from preconceptions of race, class, and handicap. Medically assisted procreation is a phenomenon intricately embedded in contemporary culture and experiencing continual expansion. A diverse array of techniques exist for infertile couples that provide significant assistance for natural fertilization. Critics argue that practices such as surrogacy may lead to commercialization of human existence and exploitation of women, making commercial surrogacy especially contagious from a bioethical perspective. Surrogate motherhood denotes the process wherein a woman known as the surrogate or carrier gestates and delivers a child at the request of a commissioned couple or individual termed the intended parents. This practice employs a heterologous fertilization method. Surrogacy can be classified into traditional and gestational type. In traditional surrogacy, the surrogate utilizes her own ovum and undergoes artificial insemination with sperm from the intended father or a donor. Gestational surrogacy implemented into surrogate uterus. The child conceived via gestational surrogacy has no genetic link to the surrogate. Commissioning parents may consist of heterosexual or gay couples or individuals. Surrogacy is not a novel remedy for the long-standing issue of infertility. Despite its long-standing existence, it has gained prevalence since the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists issued its first statement on the subject in 1983. The ability to produce new life is unequivocally a part of quality of life for several individuals. Nevertheless, many couples encounter the issue of infertility. The World Health Organization classifies infertility as a condition marked by inability to achieve a clinical pregnancy after 12 months of consistent or unprotected sexual intercourse, or owing to deficiency in an individual's reproductive capability, either alone or with a partner. The incidence of infertility has markedly risen in recent years, with a worldwide prevalence estimated at 10 to 15%. Surrogacy is classified into conventional and gestational depending on the genetic connection between the surrogate mother and the child. Traditional surrogacy entails the artificial insemination of the surrogate mother with the intended father's sperm, so designating her as a genetic parent in conjugation with him. Gestational surrogacy, hostful surrogacy, is defined as an arrangement whereby an embryo derived from either the intended parent or donor egg or sperm is put in the surrogate's uterus. In gestational surrogacy, the woman who carries the child has no genetic connection to the child. The study aims to critically examine the intersection of reproductive justice, informed consent, and the legal responsibility in the context of surgical births, particularly cesarean deliveries in India. The study is focused on women's bodily autonomy during the procedure, and it will show whether the law and the medical system of India are good protector of the rights of women or not. A qualitative, descriptive, explanatory research methodology is used in this study. whose aim is to explain and describe the research, and it picks out some constitutional provisions, case laws, and institutional practices and evaluates them to find out if the right to bodily integrity or equality is respected to maximum extent possible. The study conducts an analysis of law's highest significance and the biggest difference between the rights laid down in the law and those that women reject in real medical life. The study contributes significantly to the discourse on reproductive rights by exploring systematic failure in safeguarding informed consent and bodily autonomy in surgical childbirth within India. It highlights the fact that the private healthcare setting are the places where the breach between law and practice is sharpest as well as the most frequent. The article, by investigating medical law cases, subjects a view on healthcare standards and regular inclusion. Conclusion is that the authors interfere that there are ethical mistakes and gender stereotypes that affect the reproductive choices of women. Second point, review of literature. Nagre analyzed the concept of network consent in diverse reproductive decisions made within assisted living environments. In social care studies, permission is often intertwined with medicalized bureaucratic procedures, and the notion of consent as a fundamental expression of self is often overlooked. Varasi analyzed the intellectual tradition of critical disability studies, contending that individuals with severe intellectual disability experience chronic segregation, while their caregivers endure stigma and prejudice. Rajat and McLaren assessed how the reproductive justice framework transformed the comprehension examination of productive oppression by integrating studies of structural injustice, racism, and social economic issues, moving beyond the notion of individual choice. TAM examined how the advancements in assisted reproductive technologies and policy formulations have enhanced the capacity of a greater number of persons to conceive biologically related progeny in Canada. Nevertheless, ART consists to focus on resolving infertility and suboptimal fertility in heterosexual couples. Squares Balkars evaluated the infringements of reproductive rights encountered by Black, Indigenous, and women of color that have transpired and continue in contemporary society. Bon GB performed a critical examination of historical and modern violations of the reproductive rights of Black, Indigenous, and women of color. Investigated interventions based on empowerment and advocacy principle to promote women's reproductive justice and discuss implications for future research action and policy within framework of critical race theory. Tao Fisher examined that international human rights treaties requires both international and national legislation to protect women's right to freedom from all forms of discrimination, liberty, security, marriage, and family formation, private and family life, access to information and education, healthcare, and the benefits of scientific progress. He evaluated estimates of unwanted pregnancy and abortion, recording changes in sexual and reproductive health autonomy. These systems direct and motivates investments in global health programs and policies. Barsh Henderson investigated the variability in data accessibility and reliability, which possesses challenges for evaluating and monitoring fluctuations in unintended pregnancies and abortions. Nahar explored how the interactions of pluralist health system, a large informal sector, and an underdeveloped regulatory framework has brought about conditions favorable to corruptions in South and Southeast Asia and middle income countries. Fink examined the current situation of corruption in the health sector at front line of service delivery in this sector, connected policy, perception, and various measures being considered to address this pervasive malady. Istrosco evaluated absolute uterine factor infertility, defined as condition of infertility where one cannot get pregnant or carry a pregnancy because the uterus is either not present or completely not functioning. The significant research gap was discovered in the light of previous studies, despite the wealth of literature on productive justice, assisted reproductive technologies, and global perspectives on consent and healthcare ethics. There has been no or little examination of the Indian legal framework related to the issue of whether the informed consent is valid ground for the clinical intervention in the case of cesarean sections. Nearly all papers discussed the issues of productive injustice in general in the reproductive health context or by examining a part of population from global perspective. Nevertheless, this does not go all the way to understanding how Indian constitutional guarantees to the right to privacy and dignity of individuals are enforced in the hospital setting. A research objective to examine the legal framework governing reproductive rights and consent for surgical births in India, including relevant statutes, case laws, and healthcare regulations. To assess the role of medical practitioners and legal institutions in safeguarding or violating women's productive autonomy during the surgical deliveries. Research hypothesis: the existing legal framework in India inadequately ensures the protection of women's reproductive rights and informed consent in surgical birth. Medical practitioners and legal institutions in India play a significant role in undermining women's reproductive autonomy by failing to obtain or uphold informed consent during surgical deliveries. Methodology that is used: the researcher seeks to analyze women who had surgical deliveries. The inquiry utilizes only qualitative approaches regarded as descriptive and explanatory in nature. Research data is largely drawn from secondary sources that greatly enable a thorough examination of literature and the case studies on the subject matter. The research area under consideration for the study includes all of India. Results: objective first, to examine legal framework governing reproductive rights and consent for surgical births in India, including relevant statutes, case laws, and healthcare regulations. The Indian constitution landscape is a complex mix of tradition, modernity, and human rights. The issue of reproductive rights and technology has always been complicated, and now it has become a big thing of the modern era. The paper worked on the constitutional dimensions of reproductive rights and reproductive technology in India. The overpopulated and multicultural India is faced with difficult task of keeping in check the traditional cultural norms together with the fast revolution of the society. The constitutional framework, which is reflected in Indian Constitution, lays down the fundamental of the discussion on reproductive rights and technology. The preamble of the Indian Constitution, which guarantees justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity to all, serves as the initial footing for the description of the rights to reproduce. It is no secret that the progress of social changes and the spread of criminal activities have transformed these rights, once regarded as a part of a human personality and bodily integrity, into inalienable rights of each individual. The judiciary, as the originator of the fundamental rights, has been instrumental in the interpretation and extension of the reproductive rights technologies, reproductive rights scope through landmark decisions. In addition, gender equality is at the core of discussion on the reproductive technologies and rights. The constitutional right of equality before the law, as enunciated in Article 14, requires an inquiry into how reproductive technologies would affect women differently. Things such as industrial surrogacy, where women serve as a gestational carriers, raise some thorny moral questions of exploitation and the right to choose. These issues manifest a constitutional mandate to provide the same legal defense for all citizens. The study seeks to clarify the constitutional intricacies surrounding reproductive rights and technology in India. This will analyze how constitution, being a dynamic constitution, changes to suit the challenging public perception of autonomy, dignity, and quality under duplication. The right of all couples and individuals to freely and responsibly decide on the number, spacing, and timing of their children. It includes the right to information and right to the best reproductive health, as well as the right to make reproductive decisions without discrimination, coercion, and violence. Empirically, courts have been at the forefront of the development, protection, and enhancement of reproductive rights. The study will offer an in-depth analysis of the constitutional scheme governing reproductive rights and technologies in India through an in-depth scrutiny of pertinent constitutional provisions, court decisions, and legislative enactments. Objective 2, to assess the role of medical practitioners and legal institutions in safeguarding or violating women's reproductive autonomy during surgical deliveries. Even with the steady evolution of prenatal diagnostic and testing techniques since the mid-20th century, Prenatal treatment of the fetus is frequently not possible after diagnosis. Most women receiving test results indicating the presence of illness or damage to the fetus are faced with the choice of aborting or anticipating the birth of the child with an illness. Development of a maternal fetal surgery presents a third option, intervention that can alleviate or possibly eliminate life-threatening medical illness prior to delivery. Even though these procedures are vital in averting the dilemma between ending pregnancy and the birth of a baby with illness or disability, they are bring alone some urgent ethical issues. MFS involves a lot of new methods and aimed at treating life-threatening conditions as well as abnormalities in pregnancy. The study involves pertaining into the fetus through the body of pregnant women and performing surgical procedure, after which it is put back into the uterus until birth. Conditions that can be treated using MFS including urinary tract obstructions, diaphragmatic hernia, and congenital lung abnormalities. One of the major applications of MFS in prenatal therapy of spine bifida, which is a natural tube defect that can lead to conditions like paralysis of limbs, incognitance, hydrocephalus, and intellectual impairment. Health care providers routinely fail to obtain valid informed consent for cesarean delivery, especially in emergency cases. Consent can be elicited from relatives or by mass means, undermining women's autonomy and legal rights. Increasing unnecessary cesarean deliveries, especially in private hospitals, are a symptom of trend towards patient-unfriendly care, favoring institutional convenience or profit over ethical medical standards. India lacks explicit enforceable law regulating consent procedure during childbirth. Judicial courts routinely fail to proactively verify or sanction violation of consent, and targeted women lack effective means of redress. Throughout the Suchitra, Srivastava, and Puttaswamy cases, many problems regarding the autonomy that one has over his or her body were covered, but the courts haven't actually ordered changes in terms of structural reforms and accountability procedure related to the surgical births through any recorded orders. Thus, the influence of the decision is restricted. Concepts of male supremacy, social class, and a belief in inferiority of women affect the way medical experts treat birthing women. The idea that women are lesser in surgical decisions making is a reflection of these prejudices. Most women are not fully aware of their medical legal rights when it comes to child delivery and birth. Lack of sufficient antenatal counseling on delivery options and consent procedure is the main problem faced by medical professionals and institutions. Discussion. Productive justice in India extends beyond the conventional boundaries of reproductive rights, focusing on bodily autonomy, informed choice, and fairness in the access to healthcare. For surgical births like cesarean sections, they are particularly applicable. Despite India's constitutional protections under Article 14 and 21 being the basis of reproductive autonomy and equality, structural problems like gender, inadequate health infrastructure, and inadequate legal consciousness still compromise the latter. Women are frequently discriminated against and do not have control over childbirth decisions, particularly in the public and private health facilities where consent protocols are not strictly followed. This leaves a gap between practice and doctrine that affects the autonomy and dignity of women giving birth. Informed consent is a basic ethical rule of medical practice, especially in surgery where a lot of risk and consequences are involved. Still, certain Indian women are not allowed to give the right information and timely consent for cesarean delivery. Typically, the consent is taken under the compulsion from the family members or with hospital forms indiscriminately signed in advance. Women's opinions mostly go unheard in emergency or labor situations where the decisions are made without proper examination. The ever rising frequency of cesarean section in private hospitals, for instance, on the basis of unethical convenience, money-making, or defensive medicine, poses ethical questions about the legitimacy of consent and professional ethics of health caregivers. These behaviors violate the legal and ethical foundation of reproductive rights. Though Indian courts have extended the concept of reproductive rights through landmark judgment, judgments, the legal infrastructure regulating childbirth practices remain feeble. Cases such as Srivastava versus Chandigarh administration and Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India have established reproductive choice and control over one's body as constitutional right, but there are still no enforceable standards and informed consent during childbirth. To ensure justice in cesarean sections, India needs law reforms that mandate explicit consent protocols, institutional accountability, and patient counseling during and antenatal care. Furthermore, health workers should be trained in gender-sensitive rights-based care. Interlinking constitutional rights and clinical practice is the key to ensure real reproductive justice for ensuring that women give birth with safety, dignity, and choice. Last part, conclusion. Laws and ethics in reproductive justice in the country of India, especially with surgical deliveries, it is a matter that illustrates an extensive gap in the law and the practice of justice. It is an absolute fact that the Indian Constitution recognizes fundamental rights that give the self-discriminatory this self-determination of your own reproductive life. The application of these rights still remain uneven. There are many issues that women have to deal with, like the refusal of informed consent, medical force, and the abandonment of institution bar, etc. There are associated with cesarean deliveries. The courtrooms open up the scope for radical understanding of autonomy of the bodies. Nevertheless, the actual rules of childbirth are not being implemented legally. The increasing number of unnecessary operations bring us to the conclusion that the time has come for transparency, accountability, and respect for the patient's choice in the clinical environment. To really achieve a deep and broad sense of reproductive justice, India needs to close the gap between promise given by the Constitution and actual experience of women. It means the total transformation of healthcare policies, ensuring that the consent of patient is the core of new procedure, training healthcare professionals and women learning about their reproductive rights. The judicial authorities have to make the commencing step in order for handling of the non-consenting cases during the cesarean section to be judicious and prompt. Only by the unification of legal, institutional, and community forces can India be able to transition to a health service and that is considerate of, believed in, and serves as women's worth, power of decision, and at the same time justice of the reproductive and family service sectors. Thank you everyone for listening me patiently.
Presentation about transformational leadership and organizational performance, a systematic literary review. So, although that transformational leadership is the subject of a significant body of research internationally, there is no notable lack of in-depth studies and theoretical frameworks applied specifically of the Moroccan context. This gap raises questions about the relevance and effectiveness of this leadership model in a distinct culture and organizational environment. So, indeed, values and managerial practices in internal company dynamics can vary considerably from one country to another. This is the background to our research, the main objective of which to examine how transformation leadership influences the organizational performance of a large company. So, the context today world is marked by uncertainty, rapid change, and digitalizations. Companies need to adapt, and transformational leadership is emerging as strategic lever. So, the principal objective is to clarify the contributions of transformational leadership uh, through uh, through a rigorous synthesis of published studies on the subject. The protocol or the methodology is the PRISMA protocol followed to guarantee the transparency and the scientific rigor. Choice databases is Scopus, Scan, Springer, or Google Scholar. The selection, first of all, is 2010 article is identified. After 176 after elimination of duplicates, and finally 51 retained according to criteria language, peer reviewed, and relevance journal. So, the identify mediation factors, the commitment at work, its principle. So, the transformational leadership fosters a sustainable climate of motivation that improves individual commitment and also capacity for innovation. This managerial style stimulates creativity and push teams to exceed their limits, and also organizational learning and environment conduct conducive to knowledge sharing and adaptation fosters performance. So the analysis of the main results is transformational leadership strongly correlated with performance, and also studies by Bass and Avolio 2003 and Wang and all 2011 that, for example, in military sector, improved commitment, and also for healthcare sector, reduced turnover and product innovation gains for industry sector. So the variability of results, the observations such as no uniform results depending on context, and also the study of Bright shows that corporate culture can mitigate effects, and the effects are modulated by organizational structure. So, for the conclusion, transformational leadership is a strategic lever, and it enables sustainable performance through human development. And it can be applied to different sectors with solid results and requires adaptation to culture and organizational context. So, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Reda, for your wonderful presentation. Yeah, please
Thank
share the
you.
details.